Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I wanted to do a review of Q2, which I think has been one of the best earnings call I have seen from any company, and it makes me so relaxed about the thesis on Rocket Lab and that things are going very good, and I want to show this to you. But at the same time, it's not time yet that the stock is going to moon. So how can these two things be true? So I want to go over what I liked super much, and then I want to give you my stock price prediction, and I'm going to disclose what I have done with my stock. And by the way, I just finished interviewing Peter Beck and Adam Spice with the gang, the Rocket Lab Weekly gang, Dave G, Matt Money, and Scotto. That interview is smoking good. It's going to come out on 6 p.m. on Sunday, Eastern time, on everybody's channel. And then the full interview is going to come out 6 p.m. Monday, also on everybody's channel. So stay tuned for that. Really, really, really juicy details. And I guess right now I'm privy to insider information until the interview comes out. But nothing that will move the market. So here we go. The stock went up 13% today, and normally it doesn't matter what the stock does after an earnings call. That's not what makes the earnings call good or bad, but I'll take it. I'm very happy with this result. So I don't want to go over all the points, but just some highlights that I think that they have done really good. So I think, by the way, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're watching this. And if you feel you find value, please consider joining the channel membership. There is about 17 members currently who support the channel every month, and you guys rock, and thank you so much for that help. So back to the video. I think that these guys really listen to the retail investors, and probably they watch Rocket Lab Weekly and all of us, all the Rocket Lab YouTube creators. Or maybe they just think the same way as us, but they really changed up some things, and the transparency on certain things has skyrocketed. And I think that they're really explaining what the company does in a very, very good way. So this was one of them, when they just go over the different steps of, like how they produce rockets, and then they make spacecraft, and all of this is done so that they can arrive into the future where they can have their own assets in space and sell the data and services. There is more slides to this, but due to limited time, I really like, this is an earnings call that I actually think you should turn off this video, as weird as it sounds, and you should listen to the earnings call and really check the presentation. It was just that good. So as it says here, this quarter was the biggest one in the company's history. 106 million record revenue for a quarter. 71% year-over-year revenue increase. That's insane. That's super good. The backlog grew slightly. I would have liked a higher increase on the backlog, but it grew nevertheless. And remember, it grew despite them delivering 106 million. So that means that they sold, I think, probably like 150 million this quarter. And this revenue growth is both from significant increase in the launch and in the space system. So every part of the company is doing good. Now, this is another thing that I think was super misunderstood. And Peter Beck, actually, the first time I heard him talk about this was in our interview that me and Matt Money did with him, because everybody's so focused on what's happening with the launches, and like the customers are rearranging the launches, and they thought they were going to do 22 launches this year, and now it's only looking like best case 18, and maybe it will only be like 14 launches this year. And they're really explaining here that the business model of Electron is that that's exactly what they are offering. And if the customer wants to get delayed, then with no cost, they can just delay the launch. But when they sign a contract, they pay 10%, and as the rocket goes through the factory, it basically gets paid up to 90%, and what gets delayed is only the 10%. But according to accounting rules, they cannot recognize any of this revenue until the launch has happened. So basically, they have a lot of unrecognized cash flow into the company, and none of the customers, when they reshuffle, because they feel that they need to run more tests or their spacecraft is not ready, none of those launches disappear. And I think that this was really, really misunderstood, and they did a very good job clarifying it. Here's another one. They are basically showing that Electron was the fastest. So this is like you look at different rockets like the Falcon 9 Electron, Pegasus, entries. I don't even know these ones. And when you start them, from year 0 when they started flying, and then year 2, year 4, and how many launches they did in their respective years. And Electron was the first vehicle or the fastest vehicle to scale to 50 launches. And look at this. I love seeing this. On track for fastest 200. And look at the freaking scaling on Falcon 9. And again, even if they don't beat the Falcon 9, they just match that scaling. That's really good for us shareholders. Now, here is the thing that is going to be very interesting and probably controversial. So this is why I think the stock is not going to moon yet. But for the smart investor, every dip on Rocket Lab is a buy. If you think the stock the same way that I see the stock. So they have this new space vehicle coming called Neutron. It's a medium launch vehicle, 13,000 kilograms to low Earth orbit. It's going to compete with the Falcon 9. So the first problem is that they are insanely fast on developing this vehicle. It looks like it's only going to take 4.3 years. And that is faster than SpaceX, way faster than New Glenn. Like the Vulcan and Ariane 6 is not even comparable. So when the space analysts look at this and they say Rocket Lab is going to be done with the rocket, if you're a good critical analyst, you will not believe them. So you will just say like, it's impossible that they are this fast. Let me show you another one. This is actually an email that is, or a Substack or whatever that you can sign up to by Payload Space. And they did a launch development cost review of different rockets. And they adjusted everything with inflation, right? And you can see that Electron was the cheapest rocket to develop, also happens to be the fastest. You can see here on this chart, 2.8 years. The next one is Falcon 1, and Neutron is estimated to be 380 million. And maybe in the interview that we did, we get an update of exactly where they stand on this budget. Maybe, who knows? It's going to be a very good interview. And you can see that all other rockets, Falcon 9 expendable 554 million, Falcon 9 reusable 1.9 billion. And again, the problem is that when they present these numbers, the critical analysts are like, they're lying. It's not possible. They will need a capital raise because to develop a medium launch vehicle is 6 years and $1 billion, and they're trying to do it in 4 and 300, and it's just not possible, and it's too much risk. And the stock, I'm going to tell you a secret, is not going to be able to go up just by retail investors and us buying. I'm sorry, I know Cyberprince is like buying, I don't know, thousands of shares every day. I'm at 65,000 shares. I know a lot of you, there's quite some whales in the group, but we are not even comparable to what Wall Street can do when they decide to buy a stock. And unfortunately, this is our advantage as retail investors, that we can see, like, look at this. They tested the hot fire on the Archimedes engine. We know that the engine is the long pole in the rocket development. That's the one that really puts a question mark. Everything else is like, very fairly simple around it. So the minute that this was done, you got a clear timeline on when Neutron is going to fly, and it's next summer, hopefully. So what does that mean? We know that the cost that they're forecasting is going to come in that ballpark, okay? So yes, there is still uncertainty if the cost is going to be 300 million or 280 million or 330 million, but we know it's not going to be 700 million, right? We know that they're not going to need another raise. And we also know that soon they're going to be able to start selling Neutron contracts, but that's us, the retail, okay? The Wall Street has to think in a different way, in a more idiotic way, if you ask me. And for them, it's too risky to put this in their calculations. And this is what's keeping the price of Rocket Lab low. And this is why I think that we have an exceptional opportunity as retail investors. You just have to have patience and don't worry. I think sooner or later we are going to get where the stock is going to skyrocket. Unfortunately, like just this is what we can do and they can't do. So we see the hot fire test. We see that they did it at 102% throttle. It didn't blow up, but we know that they're not even trying to use this engine at 100%. We know that they're trying to use it at 20% or 30% just to make sure that the engine is reusable as many times as possible. So they have like a 5x margin using this rocket. It's really amazing. Then you can see these pictures. You can see that the next engines are in production. You can see that the fairing is in production. You can see like everything is happening. They're doing a fantastic freaking job. I cannot say it enough on how good and transparent they are on showing where they are. They're showing the infrastructure. And by the way, this is also, they even got asked on the earnings call, how come that Rocket Lab is so fast on developing rockets? And he even said that the other companies, what they do is that they rush an MVP vehicle and they focus on developing the rocket, and it's not the production version that they're testing. And then they still have to build so let's say when they have tested the engine and they have like an MVP rocket, the Falcon 9 was such a rocket, by the way. If you remember, it only flew 3 times and it never had infrastructure built out around it like Falcon 9. This is a very holistic rocket development. Like they're putting the pads there, they're putting the water towers there, they're putting the factories there. They have these giant machines to be able to mass produce. Peter confirmed that the engine that was on the test stand is actually the one that is going to fly on the rocket. So this is what we can see, right? But Wall Street cannot think like this. And for me, it's like you see that the Titanic hit the iceberg. It's probably not a good comparison. And then us retail investors see like, oh, there's a hole on the ship, there's water coming in. Then if you just extrapolate into the future, the ship is going to sink and abandon ship, right? But if you look from Wall Street eyes, they're like, okay, we see that there is a hole, but you don't know how fast the water is coming in. And we need to wait until, we measure every hour how the level is going. And then still there is a risk that the water stops going. So maybe if it went up to this level, maybe it doesn't go all the way, and you get the point. So this is why us retail investors have a mega edge. It's so unique to have such an edge on a company like this. So we continue. This is another thing. We, the YouTubers, Kato, Matt Money, we spend hours and hours trying to figure out how is their backlog, what they have produced, and they just gave it to us. They just said like, these are the spacecrafts, these are the people who ordered it, this is how many is in the backlog, this is the exact number of the backlog. It's so easy to understand them as an investor. They gave an outlook. Again, as I said, like the Neutron launches, they were very clear that they cannot really forecast it, and it has always been, if there is a delay, none of the delays has been because customers canceled it. The delays are usually because they are always because the customers need more time. And this is why this revenue is a little bit lower than last quarter, but the space systems is growing, and it's the launch which we know that they're getting in the money. And by the way, they sold, I think, 17 launches in Q2 alone. So 17 launches, if you annualize that, it's an insane number. It's like, 66 launches in a year if they continue that. So they are really doing amazing. And again, I wanted to show a quote by Ashley Vance, because again, I wanted to compare like how Wall Street cannot think with what is there. So Ashley Vance wrote the book When the Heavens Went on Sale. You need to read it if you haven't, and if you're interested in Rocket Lab. Was the executive director, the movie Wild Wild Space that is available on HBO was based on his book. this guy said that somebody asked him if Elon or Peter Beck is the better engineer. And he said that Elon Musk has studied more, but Peter Beck didn't do any education. He's a dishwashing engineer. Everything he learned is hands-on. And he is like his prowess and command of engineering is like 1 in a billion. And I believe he's the guy, he's the reason why they're so fast on the rocket development, why they're so cost efficient, and why they are doing so amazing. So what I think is going to happen with the stock price, I think that we're going to, let me see if I can find a good chart. I think that we're going to chill out in this range. Maybe we go up to the 8 range, but I don't think that we're going to go to, you know, moon levels like over 10 until we have the successful launch or Neutron contracts. And again, this is a very big opportunity, and I think any dip that you get on this stock is a major, major buy. I'm a true believer that this stock can go up into the 20s, 30s, 40s in the future. And just because the Archimedes hot fire test was done, they're so transparent, there's so much risk that has been taken away from the company. So I sleep super well owning this company. This company just needs time. Time is the best friend of a great company and the worst enemy of a bad company. What I did today is when the stock was very high up, I sold $8 covered calls with January expiry date, so 6 months from now. And that's because I don't think that we will be that high. If we would be that high, I would roll the options. So there's no way I would be selling this, but this is what I think. And I have more than a full position on Rocket Lab, but if I didn't have a full position on Rocket Lab, any dip for me would be a buy. Any dip that is below 6, I would be buying hands over fist until I manage to get the position that I want. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, what did you think about this earnings? Are you as excited as I am, or am I just a blinded fanboy? Let me know in the comments. Please make sure you're subscribed, and if you feel you get value out of my videos, please consider supporting the channel through becoming a member. Have a nice weekend, and see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.